Today, I want to tell you a story about a different time in American history. Before World War II, the United States was a very different place. I mean, we were not the biggest we were a big economy because of our size, but we weren't a big military superpower. We were good at mass production, but we weren't really good at quality. And there was a little bit of a different approach to management. There were two competing styles to management at that time. One that came from Taylorism, deciding to treat everybody like a number, and rewards and consequences, carrot and stick kind of approach. And then there was this really embracing concept that was created by a number of folks, including W. Edwards Deming and Kaiser and the folks at the Hawthorne works. And they really believed that people deep down inside wanted pride and joy in their work. That if given the opportunity, people want to work, that they love working. I love working. I know some of you probably do too, but they believe that deep down intrinsically human beings love to work. And because of that, the results then that they produce cannot be their responsibility. It has to be, if they're not good, it isn't because they didn't want to do a good job. It's because the system stood in their way. And there are organizations like Hawthorne Works and DuPont, as I'll talk about in a moment, that really looked into this and really investigated how to design work to make it easier for people to do. I mentioned Kaiser in some of my other talks. He created ergonomics and nursery schools and preschools and staggered shifts and all sorts of different Kaiser Permanente, cafeteria plans, housing. He created all sorts of different things to try to help people, to give them the ability to do better work. Hawthorne Works is a really great example because they did a series of experiments in the 1920s and 30s where they went down to the front line where people were working. This is a lot of manufacturing jobs, electrical assemblies, Bell Laboratories was there, those kind of things. And radios were built in this place. They went down to the front line and they asked people anything that we could do to improve the conditions around here. And they heard from people, and people said things like, yes, better lighting and better heating. And, maybe we don't have to stand on the concrete all day and all these things. And this group of researchers then went out and provided those things. Every day went down to the front line and said, what do you guys do? Well, we a little bit of light better. Okay, yeah, great. Let me get a ladder. And they'd get up on a ladder. They'd move that around. Hey, Joe, how's that feel? You feel better about that? Yeah, it feels better. Is it cold in here? Let me heat it up. Oh, wow, this is hard to stand on this floor. Let me go get you a mat. And they literally just worked in servitude to go and find the things that people needed. And then statistically, they tracked the results. And they found that every time they made an improvement at the front line, there was a dramatic improvement in productivity. So dramatic is fact that eventually management said, this is not right. This is like unlimited potential here. Every time we do something, no matter how small, there is an increase in productivity. So they began to create another experiment. They said, look, if we're going to understand the upper limits of this, we also have to understand the lower limits, meaning we need to go out and actually sabotage the work, make it hard for people to do the work and see what happens then. We'll get that correlation between the two things. So they did. They went back out and here's how they did it. They did it in the same way. Still go talk to Joe. Hey, Joe, how's things going? Things are okay. But boy, we could really use, a little bit more light over here. Okay, great. And then they went up and sabotaged the lights and made things worse. And then they would go back to Joe. Hey, Joe, how's that feel? Okay, it feels pretty good. Okay, great. And they kept doing this, changing the temperature, changing the lighting, changing schedules, changing conditions, changing the workload, doing all of these things, but each time asking the person how it made them feel, going out there and letting the employees see you out there trying to work to make things better, even if you weren't making things better. And here's what was found. In the end, every time an improvement was done at the front line, there was a dramatic improvement in productivity. Every time they went to the front line and made conditions worse, there was a dramatic improvement in productivity. And that's when we discovered the Hawthorne effect. What is the Hawthorne effect? It essentially says that just the act of caring, going down and talking to people, observing the work, engaging with them about the work, and showing that you care about the conditions that they are in, and trying to improve those, even if you don't improve those, creates marked improvement in productivity. Think about that for a minute. Another one is DuPont. DuPont found something in the 1940s and early 50s. They began to investigate people and their working conditions and their work-life balance. And DuPont found a schedule that was optimal. It was the safest, most productive, the most profitable. Employees loved it. They loved to come to work. They were engaged. There was long lines for people to come to work at DuPont anytime one of these jobs opened up. And here's the schedule they found. Human beings should work 10 hours a day, 5 days a week for 3 weeks in a row. And then get 1 full week off every single month. Every fourth week you get off with pay as a vacation. And what did they find? It was the most efficient, best approach. Now, they had a lot of different ways of staggering schedules and things, but in the end, what it comes down to is 3 50-hour work weeks, 1 week off. You're really not getting much less work. It just happens that you're scheduling it a little bit differently. And by scheduling it a little bit differently, all of a sudden people get this huge long weekend that lasts 9 days at the end of each month. That feels pretty good. Now they don't call off sick as much. Now they can go to their doctor's office or get their oil changed or do all of those kind of things on that week off. Maybe we should start to experiment with our businesses. We do it all the time with the system. We're firm believers in what's called the Y theory of management. It's what this X theory, this competitive growth kind of thing that we all use here in the United States, competition, firing people, hiring the best people, all of those things. We look at that and say, maybe that's not right. Maybe we can learn from history and take modern lessons and apply those things together to create a better system, a system that's more equitable to everybody and it's more profitable